Well guys, I am tired of turning wrenches on this thing up on the hill. It's time to get it back where I got tools to work on things. Got it all loaded up behind the Chevy. Let's get it back to town and get it set up in the new compound. Thanks for watching. Well guys, the 50 Buick is in the yard. We got the garage with the toolbox and we got the car. In behind, we got a parking compound that I've kind of set up here. Let me show you what we got to work with. Eventually I'm hoping to have a 4-post lift set up here. Enough room to park a couple of projects in behind the fence so that my neighbors don't have to look at them. And I think what we're going to end up doing is putting the Buick right here for the time being. Let me get a few things staged up and we'll get the car unloaded from the trailer without sending it rolling across the yard and into the neighbor's fence. It is unloaded. It's in the yard, and it certainly is a neat looking vehicle. Although it's kind of like polishing a turd to a certain degree, I think what I'm going to do is fire up the pressure washer and see if I can knock the worst of the algae lichen off of the body, just to make it a little bit easier to work on. Not that we're expecting it to clean up dramatically, but anything is an improvement. I'm not going to bother recording that because I don't want to get the camera hose down, but I'll bring you back once I got things cleaned up a little bit. I don't know if it's going to look a whole lot different to you guys, but I certainly can see it's cleaned up quite a bit. Still a little bit of a lichen on here. Obviously it'll need to be scrubbed down with some Scotch-Brite or something to do a really good job, but that takes the first, shall we say, top layer off. Gave the engine a little squirt down as well. Knocked some of the scum off of it. Got the some of the pine needles and stuff from in around the wire. There's still a bunch laying in the bottom. As you can see, this wiring is looking pretty sketchy here. I think we're going to have to do something about that before we try running the machine again. But took the top layer off. That's the main thing. I put a glove over the carburetor so we didn't fill the engine full of water. I imagine there's still a little bit got in around the bolts and the air breather, that sort of thing, but we're going to be doing an oil change on this in the not too distant future, so I'm not that concerned about it. Let me get the hood back on, and I think that's probably going to be where we're going to shut her down for tonight. Starting to lose daylight here, kind of a dreary day. And we'll come back at this hopefully tomorrow night, and we'll make a little bit more progress. Man, if that's the original color of the car down in there, that is nice. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but a little different color than what we're seeing out on the body. Not that that's bad, but... Okay, let me shut her down for tonight. We'll get her going tomorrow. Hey guys, it is now the next evening, and we've got things kind of cleaned up. Color to the valve cover. Looks like that might have been painted black at one time, which is odd. It's supposed to be more of an aqua color. Now that we've got it moved and we've got things cleaned up a little bit, we've got a few issues that we need to take care of. We've got this oil line that we need to try and figure out. Comes out of the block down here, up underneath the coil, and then up to the oil filter. From the oil filter, it is what feeds our rocker arm assembly. And when I was driving the car, I had oil flowing, but it was leaking all over the place because these wire wraps around some fuel line just aren't doing the job to seal up the oil pressure. We've got to get that fixed before we can try running the car again. Let me dig out the tools and we'll get staged up and see if we can figure out that oil line. I think it's just brake line, and I've got some of that. Bring you back in a minute. That was fairly easy to get out of there. As you can see, we got a couple of breaks in the line. What happened here is this line was plugged when we first started the vehicle, and in trying to clear the blockage, I ended up breaking it. I suspect it's a little bit corroded from the inside, but it is just the same size as 3/16 brake line, which I happen to have a nice spool of here. So let's see if we can make something that's going to basically reproduce. Now, I have never used this tubing bender before, so I'll have to figure out how it works. I think I saw somewhere where it said the trick is you got to line those two up at the start. That looks like as good a place to start as any. That worked. A little bit long, but it'll be okay. Yeah, sort of something like that. Kind of neat. I just got a text message a couple of minutes ago from Jay from What It's Like. If you're interested in automotive history, he's doing, oh, I don't know, 2 or 3 videos a week he usually puts out. Looking at the history of different cars, kind of along the lines of something similar to what I did with the Nash Metropolitan video that I did, where I looked at the history of the Metropolitan. Yeah, if you're interested in automotive history, be sure to check his channel out. I'll throw a link to his channel in the description. I've talked to him on the phone a few times. Seems like a really good guy. Well, that ended up a little bit higher than I was expecting, but that's not a bad thing because I won't be able to bend this quite as tight. This J-hook has to be here to get into the right angle to reconnect to the block. We don't want to get too carried away bending it by hand, because that's a good way to kink the hose off, and we don't want to do that. Let me grab a tubing cutter, we'll lop that off, and we'll kind of hold this down in place and see how it's going to be. Always remember to put the nut on before you try and put everything together. Hard for you guys to see down in there, but I think we're not quite as accurate as I would have liked to the original, but I think we're probably close enough. Let me grab the flaring tool, get it ready to go, and then we'll cut off the excess here and see if we can figure out how to make the flaring tool work. I did a couple of trial flares using this hydraulic bender. This came from Amazon. It's Vever brand, or Vever, or however you say it. It certainly does a nicer job than the hardware store style or parts store style tubing bender or tubing flaring tool. They can choke down a little bit tighter. I think that leaves enough. Give it a little deburr here at the end. Kind of small tubing for this style of deburring tool. We clamp it in the block flush with the end. Tighten it down, close the hydraulic valve. We take our double flare tool, or inverted flare tool. Get the tip started into the end of the tube. Tighten it down and pump away until it stops. It's tight. Turn it off. Put the center flare in. And drop it on the ground. But there we go. Looks like a decent inverted flare. Should work. Let me feed this down into the hole, and we'll see if we can get this to connect up to both ends, and we'll have an oil system again. Well, I guess we can try and see if we've got any oil leaking out of there. Let me grab the 6-volt battery. I'll see if I can get you guys to launch down that hole, and I'll see if the car wants to turn over. That'd be neat. Let me get things staged up here and we'll give it a try. I don't think you guys can see much down there, but let me see if we can convince this thing to turn over. I don't see any oil leaking down there. Let's give it a little drink and see what happens. I don't see any leaks. Awesome. That's a win. Well guys, we are pretty well out of daylight here. Starting to get a little dim. Getting dark early now for some reason. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. If you got this far, can you give me one of those sum up things? Give me a like. If you haven't already done so, consider subscribing to the channel. Love to have you come back and watch some more. And maybe even ring that bell icon so you get notified when I post new content. We'll catch you guys in the next mess. Thanks for watching.